thirdly, her willful negligence. Her willful negligence. These people had begun to make their religion a system as an end in itself, and they had forgotten that it was only intended to be a means to a greater end. Remember one day Jeremiah was walking through the streets and saw this great demonstration. People were holding placards in their hands, and 2 Hebrew words were scrawled over it: Hekal Yahweh. Hekal meaning the temple, and Yahweh, the name for God. Hekal Yahweh, and they were shouting at the top of their lungs, the temple of the Lord, the temple of the Lord, the temple of the Lord. Jeremiah stopped that demonstration and asked them why they were shouting Hekal Yahweh, Hekal Yahweh. And somebody said to him, Jeremiah, haven't you heard that all of the surrounding nations have fallen? Jeremiah says that is correct. And he says to them, Jeremiah, this city will never fall, and this is Judah I'm talking about now. Haven't you heard the northern kingdom is gone? Haven't you heard all of the southern kingdoms have gone? Jeremiah, this city will never fall. Ezekiel was telling them it'll fall. Jeremiah was telling them it'll fall. Jeremiah within the city was telling them. Ezekiel in captivity was telling them. The handwriting is on the wall. The nation is going to be besieged, and you're going to be burned. You're going to be scattered. You're going to be torn away and sent into different parts of the world. Ezekiel demonstrated it in captivity. Jeremiah demonstrated it within the city. No, it will never happen. It will never happen. Jeremiah says, would you give me one good reason why it would never happen? Jeremiah, that's why we are shouting, Hekal Yahweh, Hekal Yahweh. The temple of the Lord is here. God's not going to destroy the city in which his temple stands, will he? Jeremiah says, if you don't believe what God is going to do to this city, would you go to Shiloh first and see what God did there? Shiloh was the most sacred spot to the mind of God. It was there that he placed his name at first. It was there that the sacred temple stood. It was there that Samuel and Eli ministered. If you go to Shiloh today in Israel, you'll see just a small wall there that was put up by the Crusaders. But people have been digging for years, and some of them have been coming up with mosaics, possibly from the day that Samuel and Eli ministered too. There the Ark of the Covenant was stored. But God just brought Shiloh to a heap and a pile of ruins, and he says to Jerusalem, if you don't believe what God is going to do here, go to Shiloh and see what God did there. Probably the most embarrassing thing to the average Orthodox Jew today is on that his holy ground stands a mosque. God will never destroy Jerusalem. God will never destroy Jerusalem. Jerusalem was sacked and became the laughing stock of the world. Why? Because their religion became a kind of a system, and there was no heart, there was no reality to the whole thing. George Butterick has put it this way: the ritual of worship without some serious attempt at worthy living is a painted lie. The ritual of worship without some serious attempt at worthy living is a painted lie. Have you neglected the inner core of your religion? I don't know whether you have ever paused to remember what the Pharisee was like. I was reading the other day, the Pharisees loved the laws and the commandments as they found it theoretically. So they compiled them in a book called the Mishnah. To the Jew today, the Mishnah is the compilation of the laws and all kinds of descriptions about it. Then they wrote commentaries on the Mishnah, and they had 2 volumes of commentaries. The Jerusalem Talmud had 12 volumes, and the Babylonian Talmud had 60 volumes. So the Pharisee had 72 volumes of commentaries on the laws. And yet Jesus said to him he was lost. 72 volumes of laws they followed, and they didn't know the heart of true faith. I'll tell you this much: the Pharisee would put you and me to shame. He'd put you and me to shame. The thousands of laws he followed, we don't. But it's possible to fall into the same error, isn't it? Willful negligence, and lastly, their ungodly impudence. Their ungodly impudence. In chapter 9 and verse 7. By the way, their willful negligence I had mentioned was chapter 8 and verse 14. Israel has forgotten her maker and is building temples. That was the verse I wanted to leave in willful negligence.